Let's talk about something that a lot of people feel but not many people really understand. Why some people, really smart, interesting people, end up with very few friends. And I promise you, the real reason is way more fascinating than you think.
Right? It's this really tough question. Maybe you've even asked it about yourself. And you probably hear the same old answers. Oh, they're just shy, or they must be an introvert. But that's not the whole story. Not even close.
So let's get this out of the way right now. This is not about being a shy person or an introvert who just needs some quiet time to recharge. Nope. The stuff we're digging into today goes way, way deeper than that.
The real story is actually hiding in plain sight, inside the wiring of certain personalities. We're going to pull back the curtain on 5 pretty rare traits that can make real, genuine connection feel, well, almost impossible.
Okay, so what's the very first piece of this whole puzzle? It all kicks off inside your head.
You know that feeling after you hang out with someone? Well, for these folks, their brain goes into overtime. They're replaying every single word, every little look, wondering, did I say the right thing? How did I come across? What did they really mean by that? It's exhausting.
This isn't just, being thoughtful. Psychologists call it excessive self-awareness. It's like your brain is constantly running this background program, trying to guess what every single person is thinking about you. And you might think, wow, that sounds kind of smart. But when it comes to actually making friends, it's a total relationship killer.
And this just nails it, doesn't it? When your mind is stuck in analysis mode, you can't just be present. You can't relax and connect. And people can feel that. They feel that little bit of distance. It's not that you're trying to be cold or anything. You're trapped in your own head, watching the game instead of playing it.
Now, all that constant mental scanning leads right into our second trait, and this one's a big one.
Okay, so people with this trait, they have this incredible, almost like a superpower for spotting anything that isn't genuine. A fake laugh, someone stirring up drama for attention, a compliment that doesn't ring true. Bam! They see it instantly. And the thing is, once they spot it, they just can't pretend they didn't.
And here's the twist. This ability is actually a sign of really high emotional intelligence. It's called high social perception. It's a strength. But we live in a world that kind of runs on small talk and being nice, so when you refuse to play that game, people can mistake it for being stuck up or cold.
And that is such a critical point. People don't pull away because you're rude. They pull away because your genuine vibe basically holds up a mirror to all the little social games they're playing, and for a lot of people, that's just deeply uncomfortable. Our third trait is another one of those things that looks like a huge strength on the inside, but can be a real problem on the outside. Think about it for a second. How do most of us build friendships? We share our problems, we ask for help, we kind of need each other, right? But these folks, they just don't work that way. When a problem comes up, they solve it themselves. When they feel something, they process it internally. The official term for this is emotional self-reliance. And hey, it sounds great, doesn't it? Super strong, independent, but in reality, it kind of starves a friendship of the very thing it needs to breathe, needing each other. When you never seem to need anything from anyone, the people around you can start to feel, well, pretty useless.
This is such a powerful insight. You're not actively telling people to go away. It's more passive than that. By being so self-contained, you just don't leave any room for other people to step in, to help, and to feel like they matter to you. All right, trait number 4. This is where that strong inner world starts to clash big time with the outer world.
Now, this isn't about being a rebel just for the heck of it. It's a really deep-seated individualism. They don't jump on trends, they don't just adopt the opinions of their friend group to fit in, they just don't. Their mind is fundamentally wired to think for itself.
Psychologically, this is called low social conformity. These are the people who are always asking, why? They can't help but question the social rules that most of us just kind of accept without thinking twice.
And there it is. That's the price you pay. You might get a lot of respect for having your own mind, sure. But at the end of the day, friendships are usually built on what we have in common. And if you're always standing apart from the crowd, well, you're going to end up standing alone.
And that brings us to our 5th and final trait. And honestly, this might be the toughest one to wrap your head around.
This is the one that's hard to talk about. These people can be incredibly loyal, super reliable, and give great practical advice. But when it comes to showing emotion back to someone, that's where they struggle. It's often linked to something called alexithymia,
which is basically having a hard time naming and expressing your own feelings.
And this is the fundamental misunderstanding. See, they think that being dependable and solving problems is how you show love and care. But what most people actually need is to feel emotionally understood. They care a lot, but they're speaking a different language, a language of logic that other people can't always hear.
So we've got these 5 incredibly powerful traits that can really isolate a person. Overanalyzing, a hate for fakeness, being too self-sufficient. What does it all really mean when you put it together? If any of this is starting to sound familiar, I want you to listen really closely. The conclusion here is probably not what you're expecting.
It does not mean that you are broken. It doesn't mean you're flawed or that you're just not a likable person. We need to completely reframe this.
What it really means is that your mind is playing by a different rulebook. It's tuned to a completely different frequency than most people's.
And that's it. That's the big secret. Your entire psychological system is built to prioritize what is real, what is authentic, and what is true over the simple comfort of just fitting in. For you, faking a connection just to have one feels impossible.
So maybe the takeaway here isn't that you need to change. Maybe it's about finally understanding your own unique operating system and realizing that the problem isn't that you're unlikable, it's that you're just deeply incompatible with the shallow ways most people connect.
If any of this hit home for you, and you want to keep diving into the real truth about how our minds work, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And I genuinely love to hear your story, so share your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for listening.